Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. Here we are already on episode 21 this week of the podcast. We're into the fifth week already. I forgot to mention that yesterday. How's it already been 5 weeks? We have been on the podcast. Just mind-blowing how fast time is going right now. It is a dreary Tuesday morning here in Maryland. It's been the same weather here the last 2 days. Cold, and honestly, or maybe not cold, but it's chilly because 2 days ago it was 95 degrees. We're like in the low 70s right now, drizzling and cloudy. And honestly, I've been hearing, well, this is fall weather. Bro, this is not any kind of weather for any season. I would rather be 95 than drizzling and chilly out and cloudy. That is just not my kind of weather for any season. But I think it's supposed to warm up again here sometime this week. This is going to be my last video without an intro. So the quality of life through these videos will improve. I'm always looking to improve the quality of these videos. I really like it too. I know I said last week, maybe even 2 weeks ago, I was thinking about adding an intro at some point in the near future. I want to have one in there tomorrow. I've been kind of just figuring out, I don't know, just how to make it sound the best I can make it sound. And I really like it. So I'm going to start importing that in my videos starting tomorrow, and it just improves the quality of life. It makes a smooth transition for my videos. I really like it. So yeah, well, let's get into today's video. Let's start with the first topic here. What if Cam Newton never got hurt? And who would you take out of the three I'm going to list here in a little bit in their primes? So I'll kind of go over this quickly. What if Cam never got hurt? I don't know if Cam would have gone to any other Super Bowls in his career, but he may have arguably won another MVP. He was kind of on pace for another one. The year he tore his shoulder apart, TJ Watt tore his shoulder apart. But Cam would have been an all-time talent. It's crazy because he still is an all-time talent. He had that one great MVP year, and he was on pace to have even more great years. But he was really in his prime then. It was in his fourth year in the league, and we were like, oh my gosh, man, Cam has arrived, people. And I have a soft spot for Cam Newton because he was the Patriots quarterback in 2020. I don't know if anyone remembers that. I have a Cam Newton jersey hanging up. I was actually debating on wearing it on the podcast today. I'm going to wear it on Friday, though. I have a picture with Rob Gronkowski, and I'm wearing the Patriots Cam Newton jersey. We went up last summer to go see him in Massachusetts, and I was wearing it. And then I had some guy come up and say to me about how, dude, you need to change your jersey ASAP. Patriots fans do not like Cam Newton at all. The majority of them don't. I'm not going to speak for every single one of them, but I have a soft spot for him. I actually think he played pretty good. He was like an MVP candidate the first couple weeks with the Patriots. And then he got COVID, and it just never was the same. Besides, at the end of the year, they actually heated up, and I remember they were 6-6, contending for a playoff spot, but they started off like 2-5 or something, and that was when Cam got COVID, and then they went on to be like 4-1, and I think they finished the season 8-9 or somewhere around like that. So Cam actually wasn't too bad on New England, and my point is with that is he wasn't bad then, and people considered him washed. I'm going to tell you something. If TJ Watt didn't tear his shoulder apart, I think Cam would be a Hall of Famer. I actually think, I don't know if he'd have a Super Bowl, but he has the appearance, which is something Josh Allen and Lamar don't have, which are his two, I'd say probably his two closest comparisons playing today, especially Josh Allen. Maybe Jalen Hurts. I don't know. I don't see Jalen Hurts as much as Cam. He's not quite the runner Cam is to me, but I really think Cam Newton would be a Hall of Famer today. Actually, he may have ended up getting another Super Bowl appearance, and I don't think the Panthers would be as much as a joke. They may not have Bryce Young, or maybe he would have went somewhere else. Maybe he would have, I don't know, been the successor to Drew Brees in New Orleans or something afterwards. Who knows? I'm just kind of making up a scenario there, but anything. Maybe instead of Tampa getting Brady in 2020 and Cam was healthy, still playing like his prime self. He had a couple good years left. Instead of going after Brady, they go after Cam, and Tampa goes goes against Cam, and maybe they go to the Super Bowl in 2020. I'm just making up scenarios, but, it could have happened. The trajectory of his career could all be different. He's one of while he won an MVP and went to a Super Bowl, and the thing is with his Super Bowl, it's kind of tainted because he didn't dive on the fumble. And I get it. Yeah, I've always been that person. You can always say you never know what would have happened. And that's true. But I think even if he dived on the fumble and got it, they were toast. They even just that play alone, he got strip sacked, and they were getting clobbered all game by that defense. It was an all-time defense right there. I mean, Peyton Manning was shot in that Super Bowl. His arm was shot. He was done, and they still dominated. That goes to show you right there. And that was Cam in his prime on that offense, and they were just blowing Carolina out of the water. Not necessarily on the scoreboard, but if you remember watching that, it was never close. That game was never close. Carolina never felt like they were in it once in that Super Bowl. And that's why I think, I don't think his career, people are going to taint his career because of that, to be honest with you. They still talk about him not diving on that fumble. They were going to lose anyway. They regardless whether he dived on it or not, they lost yards on that play. They were getting torched on offense. It was over. To me, it was already over whether he dived on it or not. I don't think that should taint his Super Bowl appearance and his career in general. People really still get on him for that a lot. I see that on his podcast. I watch his podcast every now and then, and he still talks about it. It drives him nuts, and respectably so. I mean, he even knew in the back of his head, they were goners. They really were. They were just toast. They were. Again, if you watch that Super Bowl, they were never in it. They just were never in it at all. And my next part of this question is, who would you take prime for prime? We're not talking career for career, because obviously Cam would probably be last at this point in terms of just stats-wise and all. Would you take Josh Allen, Lamar, or Cam? All in their primes. We're talking the peak of their powers. We're not talking career for career. We're talking, okay, if you needed 1 year and you got these guys in their prime, you have a team around you that's a Super Bowl contender, but you need a quarterback. Who are you putting at the position? 2015 Cam, I think we can all argue we can't argue that was his prime peak of his powers right there. Even you could say this year's Josh Allen, last year, he won the MVP. You call that his best year or whatever year you call the prime. Whether one of Lamar's MVPs, whether it's 2019 or a few years ago, whatever. Gosh, this chair. You're like sinking into it. I really need a new chair. But for me, it's tough. That's tough. Because they're all it's weird because when you look at it, they're all very similar. Excuse me. They're all very similar, but at the same time, they're all extremely different in the way they play. They're all dual threats. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of maybe the best passer, and I know a lot of people are probably going to go crazy at me for saying this, is probably Lamar Jackson. I mean, look at Lamar's passing stats this year and the year before that. He's been the best passer out of the group. In terms of arm strength, I think we'd definitely take Allen or Newton's arm strength over Lamar's. They just got freaking cannons. You watch Cam throw the ball, just zip it in 100 miles an hour. He had weird arm mechanics, but he was a really good thrower there for a little while. I mean, he was probably the more inconsistent one out of the group. There's no doubt about that. But Allen, I'd take his arm out of the three. Running ability, it's weird because Allen is the hybrid of the two. He's the human, he's not the human joystick quite to Lamar's extent, because I'd argue to say Lamar's the best, I don't know how to say it, like, agile runner ever. Just the human joystick. Literally, juke moves, all that, whatever you want to call it. He's the best of that type, the Vicks, everything. Like that. Allen and Newton kind of have that human bulldozer kind of vibe where they can just truck over linebackers and stuff. Lamar doesn't necessarily do that, but Allen's kind of the hybrid of the both. He can run well and perform some really good moves when he's in open space. That's what Lamar's. With Lamar in open space is the best out of the three. If he can just take off, he's the best. But Allen he's toned down of that a little bit. He doesn't have the speed or quite the agility Lamar has, the moves he could put on. But he has some moves in his bag, and he can take off when he wants to take off. And he also has that, he can throw his shoulder into someone. Cam Newton is very heavy on the human bulldozer. But man, could he run, though. I take his running ability over Josh Allen's, to be honest with you. And he's very close to Lamar. Honestly, I know this sounds kind of crazy. I'd take Cam's over Lamar's and Josh Allen's running ability. I know Lamar's better in the open field, but Cam was still amazing in the open. You watched him. I mean, him just Superman diving in the end zone, front flips, and, doing his Superman celebration, all that. I know the celebration doesn't necessarily have to do with anything necessarily, but it was just more fun to watch, of course. In a running scenario, I'm just taking Cam. I guess in order though. So one thing though, Cam is the Super Bowl, which makes this tough because at least he has a Super Bowl appearance, and those two don't. I mean, if Lamar had the Super Bowl appearance, he'd easily be number one to me. I mean, not necessarily easily, but I wouldn't put much thought into it. But I'm still going to put Lamar number one, I guess. His prime MVP year, I'd take over Allen's and Newton's, but I'd take it over Newton's by a hair, man. Hey, I remember watching Cam's MVP year, dude. He was special. That was a time of life right there. There was edits all around for him. People were like, who is this guy? Maybe I take Cam at number one. I do have that soft spot for Cam. I do for Lamar a little bit, even though I'm not a Ravens fan and I live in Maryland and I'm only about 25 minutes away from the city or the stadium, whatever, they're both the exact same thing. But because a lot of people dog Lamar outside of Baltimore, oh, he can't win this, he can't win that. He's a running back, whatever. He's definitely not. I watch him every single week here. The dude is not a running back. I promise. Not a lot of people say that as much anymore, but remember I was going around for even when he won MVP, people were still calling him a running back. I would definitely, I think, now to think about it, just because of the Super Bowl appearance alone, I would take Cam at his prime over Lamar and Josh Allen. And I'm curious who you guys would take, so make sure to leave it in the comments because I want to see in order who you guys would take or however you want to do it. Whether you just want to list off the one you want to take, whatever. I would take Cam at number one because he was still a very, very good thrower. And he has a cannon of an arm. And he was really throwing to no one out there. And to be honest with you, he throwing to like Kelvin Benjamin or whatever. Prime Greg Olsen too. He did have Greg Olsen out there, which made a difference. But besides that, I mean, he was not throwing too much out there. He had Jonathan Stewart. I don't remember. You guys remember him at running back? That's kind of a pull right there. To name a lot of people I haven't heard in a while until I just mentioned it. I would take Cam for sure. Then I would take Lamar too. I think Lamar is better than Josh Allen to me. I'm not just saying that because the Bills are in the Patriots division. I'm waiting to hear that already. But I think Lamar, I watch him every week. I also watch Josh Allen every week. I did the Patriots game right on my thing. I watch all the games every single week. All the plays, everything. I just think Lamar is better than Josh Allen. They both don't have a Super Bowl. So, not even an appearance. If Allen had the Super Bowl appearance over Lamar, I'd be comfortable with saying, okay, Allen is better than Lamar right now. And then we'd all be comfortable with saying that, even Ravens fans. If Lamar had a Super Bowl appearance, he'd easily be over Josh Allen. They need the appearance at least. So that's my list. Newton, Lamar, Josh Allen. You're kind of splitting hairs with those three. They're all incredible. I wouldn't even care if you did Allen, Lamar, and Newton. You can do them in any order. I wouldn't necessarily complain, but I'm curious to see your guys' thoughts. Next topic. I have the competition right now. It's heating up between Jaxson Dart and Russell Wilson. And I think Jaxson Dart at some point is going to start. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but at some point he's going to start. I think Russell Wilson is going to start for this team. He's looked very good in the preseason and in camp. Russell Wilson has apparently. Now he may pull a year out this year where he just looks incredible. They can't really justify putting Jaxson Dart in. They have an extremely hard schedule though, and I think Russell Wilson's going to fold. He may get a little hamstring injury, some soreness. They're going to have to put Jaxson Dart in. They have no choice. I mean, are they going to put in Winston then Dart? I don't know. I don't think so. To be honest with you, fans, if something happens to Russell Wilson, whether he gets some soreness, has to miss a game, the fans are going to be chanting for Jaxson Dart. They're not going to have a choice. There's no way they're going to put in Winston. So it's between Wilson or Dart. He's going to go with the more experienced, especially with the Browns. I wonder if the Giants were kind of waiting for Cleveland to make a decision on who's going to be their starting quarterback, because the Browns just made the decision to start Flacco, as we're going to talk about here in a couple minutes. But I think now after that decision, they're going to start Russell Wilson. Not necessarily saying that, well, they're going to make their decision because of Cleveland, because why would you? Why would you make your decisions based off of the Cleveland Browns? No offense. But the way the Giants have been the last while now, is 7-8 years, or maybe longer than that. They're around the same the Cleveland Browns have been. They've been a joke. So I know now it kind of sounds like I'm dogging the organizations, but I'm being serious. When you're talking about them making decisions made probably off one or the other right now, I think Russell Wilson's going to be the starter for this team. I think we all kind of knew, but I think it's going to go down kind of as the Flacco situation. Maybe not as bad, but Russell Wilson's going to suffer a little injury, or he's going to kind of start playing like Russell Wilson has the last few years. He'll make a big-time throw. He'll probably look really good the first couple of weeks. The hits are going to start getting to him. He's going to start dink and dunking. That's what Russell Wilson's been the last few years. He's a dink and dunk quarterback, or throw it 30, 40 yards down the sideline. That's it. It is literally, there's some big lob rainbow across the sideline, or dink and dunk, and the offense can't move. That's been Russell Wilson. I think the fans are going to start experiencing that. Their schedule's going to catch up to them. They're going to kind of start getting clobbered. They're going to start calling for Jaxson Dart, and I think eventually he'll play. But I think Russell Wilson's going to play good for a while. Maybe he'll play good the whole season, and this team shocks everybody. They have legitimate pieces on the Giants. They really do. It's just the whole quarterback situation throwing them off. They got Cam Scatabo at running back, which I thought he would have gotten drafted higher. I really like him a lot. He's just a hard runner, a big-time hitting guy. Just having his presence in the locker room and on the field is just felt in general. But yeah, I think they have pieces there. I think they just really need to make a decision whether, if they start Dart, then they can just start Dart the whole year, but they're not going to. And I think you should start Russell Wilson. I'm different with that than I am on the Cleveland situation, to be honest with you. I think Russell Wilson does have some juice left, and he's looked extremely good in the preseason. He made a crazy throw the other day. It was like 60 yards of air time or something, or air distance. It was nuts. But we'll see. I think Dart will start by the middle of the year. I really do. Like I said, that schedule's going to catch up to him. I think they're going to start getting kind of clobbered, and they're going to start him. I think Dave Ball's going to be, all right, let's just put him out there, and he'll probably play well, and they'll start him next season. So we'll see. Next topic, I have Flacco being named as the number one quarterback for the Browns. Now, this is where I'm indifferent to this than when I just talked about Russell Wilson and Jaxson Dart. Joe Flacco is just going to do nothing for this organization. I'm not a believer in Joe Flacco at this point. He's just out there to gunsling. Whether you put him or Shador out there, I'm not saying you put in Sanders, they're going to win games. You put in any one of their 7 quarterbacks they got, 6, 7, waiting for the memes to come with that. I had some guy comment the other day. If you know, you know about me saying 6, 7. There's a big meme going on. I'm sure you all know, but some kid made that. I've had a couple comments under my post because I said that the other day. I'm sure I'm going to get some underneath my comments about me saying that. But no matter who you start between however many quarterbacks they got, they're going to lose. They just are. This team does not, they have too much going on to be a winning organization this year. You know what winning organizations do? They are They have quiet off, or not necessarily quiet off season, but they don't have a lot of noise coming in about this team's going to suck this year, whatever. Let me use an example. The Chiefs have a lot of noise about the dynasty being over, whether or not you believe so. But you know what? Everybody knows the Chiefs are at least going to be in the divisional round of the playoffs. The Browns have no chance of being in the divisional round of the playoffs. I don't think the Browns have a chance of getting 9 wins, more or less, making the divisional round of the playoffs. I'm not just saying that. There's too much outside noise for this team, and there's a reason for it. There's a reason. They stink. Like, this team is pieces. You still have Myles Garrett. Jerry Jeudy kind of had a breakout season last year. But besides that, what else do they have? They have a couple of good corners. They have good rotational pieces, but they don't have a playoff contending roster. And I don't mind them starting Joe Flacco. Like, believe it or not, I don't mind it. But when people are telling me, especially on my socials and stuff, that Shador doesn't even get a chance. He shouldn't even get a chance to start. Gabriel's better, which we've seen on what is it, Saturday or Sunday, which is not the case. Like, he played all right, but I think we all can agree Shador had the better preseason game. And Flacco has the experience, and he may be better as of this moment to start for the regular season. But if there's people really trying to argue with me, if Flacco's starting for this team, they have a chance to make the playoffs, which I've heard from multiple people, or you are out of your mind. And they say Flacco should start over Shador every game of the season, which is absolutely not true. You have a chance at a franchise quarterback right now in Shador Sanders, which I truly believe he has a chance to be that. Which, how many times have the Browns had that freaking chance to have a franchise quarterback? They blew it with Deshaun Watson and just being a weirdo, and he sucks in general. I thought they overpaid him when they paid him all that money the first time for all this stuff came out. I thought that was just like, what are they doing? Just weird anyway. But he'll probably never play an NFL snap ever again. And at least that situation's kind of nearing its end with Cleveland. They're still feeling it, but you have a chance to start a guy who was about to be number 1 overall in the draft, be picked number 1 overall. And I get the bad interviews, the attitude, the cockiness, whatever. Whatever all those GMs thought, it clearly affected them, and he fell that far for a reason because of that. But talent, he didn't fall because of his talent. He didn't fall because he couldn't play. He was going to be up there with Cam Ward to be the number 1 and 2 pick. That was not the reason. He is on your team. Play him, please. The Browns fumble every opportunity this organization has ever had with Baker or anything. This team has fumbled every opportunity they have ever had. Excuse me. Every opportunity they've ever had with anybody. I had some guy the other day say, or I see them say that the Browns are going to be considered a clown organization if they don't start, or if they don't play Flacco a majority of the season and start Shador. I was like, bro, they've been a clown organization. What do you mean they're going to all of a sudden now be considered a clown? Like, this team has been a clown organization. Look, right now they're a clown organization. They have been my whole life. They've had 1 or 2 good years my entire life, maybe. They had the year with Baker Mayfield a few years ago. That's the only year in my memory I actually remember them being good. They were 0-16 like 8 years ago. Maybe 7 years ago. I think it was 8. Was it 2016? So I guess it was about 10 years ago, actually. But they suck. They're awful. I don't know. I think I kind of went a little deep into it, but I don't mind Flacco being named quarterback 1. To be honest with you, that's going to blow up by week 5. They're going to be cheating for Shador Sanders. They are. Kevin Stefanski's not going to like it. He doesn't want to start him at all. The comments, when people ask him about Shador, he doesn't want to talk about it. And I get if you don't necessarily want to talk about something, but he says it in a way like he almost doesn't like him in a way, to be honest with you. Now, he says that obviously he's going to say he does, and he loves him. He's one of their quarterbacks competing for a spot. He knows Deion's coming for his job if Shador plays well. That's why he don't want to play him. Why would he? He's already been on the hot seat, what, 3 times in his career now with Cleveland? Not necessarily saying that he deserves that, but, you know, we all know what's going on with Cleveland, and it's going to blow up eventually. They've had 2 good years, maybe 3 or 4 my entire life. They had the one a few years ago when Flacco was playing, which is what Browns fans are counting on, which is not going to happen. I'll bet the bank on it. He is not going to have that magic again. They don't have Amari Cooper. They don't have the team they did then at all. Then they had that year a few years ago with Baker Mayfield when he won a playoff game. It's different. This team is different. I don't know. I'm not a fan. I think I don't mind them starting him, but it's going to blow up at week 5 or 6. They're going to be 2-4 or whatever. They'll win a couple games. Maybe they'll start off 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, whatever. Beginning of the season is always weird. The New Orleans Saints look like the greatest team in the universe at the start of last year. Look what happened. It's going to be very similar with the Cleveland Browns this year, I feel like. They may be pretty decent to start off the first couple weeks, but then they're going to suck. Excuse me, gosh. But it's going to blow up. That organization's going to blow up bad. Next topic, the 49ers injuries already, and how, do they have some black magic around them? The preseason game against the Raiders, they had multiple players get hurt. Because that were actually pretty decent players. Looking to be rotational players on a team that kind of struggles with depth already as it is. Already out. And these are big-time injuries. And you have to worry, does the training staff or the medical staff in that organization just need to be wiped clean? Seriously. You know, the Ravens did that, I think it was last year, a few years ago. Remember they had all of those injuries every year. Ronnie Stanley was going down. They had players constantly getting hurt. Lamar was even getting hurt for a considerable amount of time. Then they fired their whole medical staff. I think they got an F grade on their medical staff. Rehired the I think it was like the head of director of the medical team and got a new staff. They've been perfectly fine with injuries. Of course, they're going to deal with injuries. They had Zay Flowers last year and stuff. Injuries happen no matter. I don't care if you have the world's greatest doctors all working for you. Injuries are going to happen regardless. But they had players out for considerable amounts of time, like the whole season, and they never come back ever. And you'd be like, is this guy ever going to play again? And that's another thing. I think the 49ers need a new medical staff. They have people injured every single year, big-time names, every year, just constantly hurt. And it's already trending in that direction again. Players just dropping like flies for this team against the Raiders. I mean, just constant. All the time with this team. That's what you got to wonder with McCaffrey and their other guys. What if Ayuk comes back? Is he going to get hurt again? Pearsall's already been dealing with injuries. I mean, I know he literally got shot in the chest last year. That has nothing to do with the medical team, but I'm just talking about besides that this year, he's been dealing with some injuries. I don't know. They've got to look at hiring a new medical staff or something. Baltimore did it, and their whole thing changed. They had the injury bug every year for years at a time. And that changed the second they did. I think the 49ers need to do the same thing, or else they're going to catch themselves in the exact same spot they were in last year, where Purdy all of a sudden looks extremely average. And would they win 7 or 8 games last year? Maybe they won 6. I can't remember their exact record, but it was one of those 3. I think they finished like 7-10. But they sucked. They didn't necessarily, well, they did kind of suck, but they were not great last year. There's all the injuries piled up. And if it happens again, something has to change in that building because something's not working for that organization. Last topic today, it's going to be very quick. Remember how last week I was talking about how I wanted to add a new segment where I'm putting up my bet slips, so suggestions for bets for you guys, whether take this 3 or 4 leg bet, which is the one I suggest taking, or if you want a big-time bet, that's what I'm going to call it, anywhere from 8 to 10 legs, maybe even more. If you feel like really getting some bang for your buck, your best chance of getting your bang for your buck. I'm going to call it Bet Slip Sundays, or, that doesn't have it right now, Bet Slip Sundays. Got some other kind of maybe switching the names around. It's still like Sunday slips, but I like it as bet slip Sundays. It's not going to be on Sundays. I'm not going to have it on Fridays, Thursdays or Fridays probably, but you get my point. It's the bet slips for Sundays. So yeah, I think that kind of makes a lot of sense now that I explain it. But bet slip Sundays. Let me know if y'all think of the name. I kind of like that, so I wanted to mention it. But that I think I'm actually going to do that this week. If you want to bet on the preseason, I'm going to put up a little parlay, a little leg for the parlay. I'll probably end up doing it for the Patriots game. I'm not going to do it for a lot of the other teams just because I literally do not. A lot of the guys are no names that come in by the second quarter, the second half, and you're just kind of like, okay, who's even in the game? I'm not going to tell you guys to bet your money on players that I really don't know a lot about, that no one knows a lot about at all, unless you watched Toledo, the undrafted guy in Toledo playing on the third round, you remember him or wherever. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. But especially Patriots games, a little bit of Ravens, just maybe say 1+ touchdown for a team. I already have one set, so make sure to be in there for Thursday and Friday. I'm going to do a three or 4 leg parlay for you guys. So if you want to see my bet slip for my first bet slip Sundays, make sure you tune into the podcast. I'm going to start doing it every week here. And if you are wondering, I did not do Top 10 Tuesday today. I'm saving that for the season, which starts in literally a week and a half, 2 weeks at this point. So there won't be another Top 10 Tuesday until the season. So be ready for that. And yeah, that's it for today's episode. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We are pushing 100 subscribers. I would love to hit that as soon as humanly possible. You guys have been amazing. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the podcast, and I will see you guys on the next one.